Live now. Madhur, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Aaron Sanders, this Agile guy. I have Madhur. Do you want to say your last name for everybody?
Madhur Kathuria.
Madhur Kathuria.
Thanks,
All right. Yes. And we were talking before the live stream started about really getting into the philosophy of Agile. You don't really do it. And there are some practices worthwhile that we can start to help us really get into that feeling of agility rather than just doing it. And I was wondering for you, what are some of those important practices? Now I'm getting a YouTube error saying not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So it might be a little chunky for some people out there. This is definitely an experiment, Madhur. Thank you so much for coming with me. Again, I will be recording this, and after the live stream, it won't have such laggy latency on it. And it's just something I've been figuring out. You're guest number 2 now, so maybe by the time you come back as guest number 20, it'll be just super tight. But again, thank you so much. And what are some practices, especially now in pandemic where we have to all be remote? What are some things that you think can really help keep us in that Agile philosophy?
Okay. So as I mentioned, I think we went live, and I will kind of repeat that. The first part is to think face to face. So if you're supposed to write a mail, pick up a call and talk to your colleagues. If you're supposed to pick up a call and talk to your colleagues, be live on video. Right? Don't just sleep through your meetings and say, okay, I'm live, but I'm not there really. I'm attending to my kid, or I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing something. Right? So being on a video call is very, very important. That's one part of it. Second part is, now that we are remotely connected, having a shared space where everything is shared, whether it is your documents, whether it is your Excel sheets, whether it is your product backlog, user stories, whatever you want to call that. Everybody should be able to look into all those documents. There's no confidentiality that we're talking about. I've seen a lot of organizations thinking about, oh, we need to keep this confidential, this should not be visible to others, and so on. But we are in tough times, so it is important that we create even more visibility than we were creating earlier. So having those shared workspaces, having those shared chat windows or chat rooms where everybody can be there when they need, not having been able to connect to and use technology and then dial in and find person busy. So we should be able to do that. And obviously, there's technology available to have those live rooms these days, right? Where you can be live almost 24/7. So be connected to your colleagues, be on live video. So that is something which I suggest. And then you can continue your normal planning meetings and daily stand-up meetings as the case might be.
I see. That also makes me think, though, that sometimes I see, especially as we're trying to tumble forward with the new environment and finding tools, a lot of people will start trying a bunch of different tools, and maybe in that spirit of transparency, because we were also talking about the spirit of Agile, or the philosophy of Agile. How do we make sure that we have critical mass and aren't spreading ourselves over too many things, and that transparency starts to become spread out and it's hard to find things? Do you have any tips for that?
So as I think what I mentioned here, the very first tenet that I'm talking about from the manifesto, again, I take a cue from that: people matter more over process and tools. Don't try too many tools. So keep one suite, whichever you think is important, whether it is Google or Microsoft or iOS or whatever the case might be. But don't confuse your team members with too many tools going through. It could be as simple as an Excel sheet that you're maintaining on a Google Drive or a OneDrive. That should be absolutely enough, right? Don't we try to complicate our lives by adding too many tools, right? So one of the principles of the philosophy is simplicity, the art of maximizing the work not done. So think simple. What's the simplest mode of communication I can maintain, which everybody can easily understand? If you try to get into too deep into Jira, for example, or introduce Miro, and so many tools which are there in the market now,
right?
You're going to confuse your team members more rather than actually giving the benefit of simplicity.
Yeah, I absolutely understand. So it sounds like we might need some guidelines. For instance, hey, look, we're looking at how we can make sure that individuals can interact in a near face-to-face like way. What sorts of tools, or one tool really, would help us have clear communication and interact day over day over day for the stand-up. And that's probably not Slack. I see a lot of teams now that are slacking their daily stand-up, but it doesn't hit that mark, right, of making sure that we're interacting and evolving our plan for the next 24.
Right. So as I said, maybe one tool for video communication,
Yeah.
and a tool for a common stories that I would like to see. Those two probably are the two things you require. Maybe some sort of a tool to manage your backlog. So that's all is what you are looking for, probably not more than those three tools.
Yep. And I would think too, then it would be worthwhile thinking about the 12th principle of reflect and tune. Then we should probably every so often even look at, are the tools that we're using really working to our advantage? Because I would think, oh, I'll Slack my daily stand up. You decide, oh, I'll put it in a Google spreadsheet, and somebody else goes to OneNote. So I think maybe some way to reflect and make sure that we have the simplest tool sets, that the way that we're interacting is helping us to be a team and adjust to customer needs. Yeah.
Yes. So as I said, what we say, reflect, maybe in your retrospective, do reflect whether tools are still working for you.
Yeah.
The processes are actually helping or giving us an extra overhead just to maintain being agile or being Scrum. So it's not again about processes and tools, it's about how you interact with your team members, even now more remotely. So if your tools are not working for them, try something different.
Yeah.
That's a continuous pivot that you need to have.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm somewhat smirking here too, because I worked at Rally Software for a while, and I think, oh, we want to help individuals interact. I could write a tool for that. And then we have all of these tools out there to maybe help us work better together. And yeah, some way to come up with the simplest amount and reflect on, make sure that they continue to work for us and for everybody involved.
Right. Pardon me the brevity there, Aaron, because tools, I think I have always told people that I've worked with my co-learners, right? That tools are something. The best tool you will always find is a whiteboard. That's the simplest thing that you can use with the Scrum team.
Yeah.
Any other tool that you're going to be using, it's actually creating more steps for you, more complications for you. So even now in an online world, the same thing applies. So try to keep your tool set to minimum, not too many tool sets and too many things, technology that you're trying to bring in.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds great. And we're also talking about the difference between Scrum, Kanban, a thing you do, and this philosophy behind it. How else would you compare, contrast Agile and the philosophy to Scrum, the framework?
Okay. So now when I talk about Agile or any other philosophy, and now this is an example some of my co-learners from my classes would know, and I kind of repeat it. So think about this as a religion, right? So anybody, anywhere in the world, if you're following a religion, for example, right? Mm-hmm. Their belief systems and core value systems remain the same. But the way we practice the rituals, the way we practice the religion varies from country to country, region to region. The way, for example, we celebrate Christmas, right? Christmas is just now around the corner. The way we celebrate with Santa and with all those snowmen around there, perfect. But when you go to, for example, down under, when you're in Australia, can you really celebrate winter the same way, Christmas the same way? Obviously, you cannot, right? Because the weather is different, because the way we celebrate very differently. If you go to, for example, interior Africa, if you talk about Kenya, if you talk about South Africa, they exactly celebrate Christmas the same way. They don't, right? The spirit of the Christmas remains the same, but the rituals will be different. Same way when we are talking about the Agile philosophy, right? Those 12 principles will apply to any field. And I repeat that not just in the IT world that we operate in, any field, correct? But the practices would be different for different. For example, when we talk about Scrum, Scrum is a framework that gives you best practices for team collaboration. That means if you want to improve your team collaboration, if you want to make sure your team works better together, you use practices from Scrum. Daily stand-ups, sprint planning, retrospective, they're all designed to make your team work more collaborative. But if your problem, if your challenge area or improvement is all about software engineering, how do I write better code? How do I write better design? How do I write better software? Then Scrum practices are not going to help you. It is the extreme programming or XP practices are going to be taking also care of. So Scrum as a framework is for team collaboration. correct?
Mm-hmm.
So while Agile framework is the foundation, Agile philosophy is the foundation on which Scrum is built. So use those practices when you need better team collaboration from Scrum. But if you have other areas to take care of, for example, you want better workflow management, Kanban comes into picture. If you want software engineering, better software engineering, XP comes into picture. And can they coexist? Yes, Scrum can coexist with XP, with Kanban, with less, with Scrum at scale, any of those frameworks. Okay? So Agile philosophy forms the foundation on which the Scrum framework is based.
Yep.
Now this is contrary to a lot of literature which is there on Google now. If you Google about it, or Agile is an umbrella term for so many frameworks. I probably beg to differ with that because I see those 12 principles are the foundation of everything we talk about Scrum, everything we talk about X.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, it is the Agile manifesto for software development, and people talk about using Agile for software development. I'm not quite sure how you would do that as a lightweight philosophy. And then with Scrum being a framework, and I really enjoy that the latest version, the 2020 version of the guide says, look, something along the lines of, it's incomplete. And so, as you're saying, if we see some weakness that really Scrum itself does not address, like the technical practices, then let's pull in continuous integration and other practices out of extreme programming. Or if we're looking for more continual flow, let's really think through some of the principles of Kanban, of limiting work in progress, which of course is absolutely possible with Scrum. Just don't put all your stories in flight the first day of your sprint. Maybe try to single piece flow those through the sprint as you're working. Right. So they can fit together, I guess. And it also makes me think, a lot of people say, and I wind up saying this too, there is really no one size fits all process, method, etc. that you have to make it work for you. And I'm wondering, Madhur, when you are engaged with a client, and I'm pretty sure you take the coaching stance of start where somebody is, then how do you assess and help them figure out what they need in their toolkit to be able to hit that Agile philosophy?
See, it depends on, as I said, the first part that I start with working with both the leadership team as well as the teams on the ground is what is really what you're looking to achieve by using Agile practices? What are the ultimate business goals that you want to achieve? Because I've seen umpteen number of times, it is because the CIO thinks this is a cool buzzword that we want to go Agile and let's go Agile tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Right? Which will not be the case. So first at a leadership level, at a team level, you need to be really clear on what you really want to achieve by shifting up and shaking up your environment and work environment and trying to do something different. Right? Then you figure out how your teams are located. Are they really located at the same place, same location, same office, or are they really spread globally?
Yeah.
Right? So that becomes the second part of it. And that would define what kind of collaboration tools you need. For example, if most of your teams are co-located in the same office, I'm now talking about pre-corona times and pre-COVID times, and maybe better times we see in 2021. Right? So then you don't really more than whiteboard or some sticky notes around. That is purely more than enough for you, and just to maintain something in Excel sheet.
Yeah.
But the moment you say maybe my product owner is in the States somewhere, and my team is based out of let's say Delhi or Bangalore, then obviously you need some sort of a remote working tool like a Jira or a Rally or a version one of those to maintain your backlog. Yeah. And obviously some of those tools that we just now talked about, something for the video communication, whether it's a Zoom or a Google Chat or whatever those that you consider in your organization.
Yeah. Let's go back to. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Madhur.
Yeah. So again, what I'm trying to see is, as you rightly said, one size does not fit all. If you have probably 80 teams within your organization, each one of them may still need a different set of tool set. So you might have a pool of tool set the organization might recommend, but don't force it to any team. Let them choose what is their way of work.
I see. Yeah, I've heard it said you can't really command and control your way into self-management. And so there needs to be some way for people to take these things up because they see it's helpful, not for the sake of the Agile philosophy, but for the sake of the organization and what's important for them. And that makes me think then we can do a better comparison as we are moving through our product development. We're looking at some measures that are almost irrespective of whatever the process is. We're looking at maybe some bigger targets, higher level outcome level measures or around objectives and key results, and then looking at what we do to see if it helps us approach those objectives and outcomes. I'm using my words, but is that what you're talking about here?
Yes. So see, agile philosophy, agile practices, Scrum, these are just means to the end. So as an organization, as a team, you need to be clear on what product goals and business goals you want to achieve, right? Agility is not the goal. Neither is Scrum ever the goal. It can never be, because they were just means to achieve your goal. So unless and until as a team, as an organization, you're clear what you want to achieve, you'll never get success with agility.
Yeah.
So you do very.
Oh, well, there's please tell the executives I've been working with this. A lot of organizations that I engage with do say we want to be agile because everybody else is, or who doesn't want to be agile? We want to be able to adapt to our market. Go. Oh, by the way, how do we know if we're agile or not? And I think you and I are agreeing that it's not about assessing agility. It's about assessing your organization and your approaches and what you're trying to accomplish. And if the changes you're making in the organization get you closer or further away from those things you'd like to accomplish.
So, and I'll tell you, this is something that I've seen some of the coaches actually trying to do, right? And I kind of got horrified a few years back. So, because I was a process consultant since 2004, and I remember working with CMMI and PCMM and all those interesting frameworks that we used to have.
Yeah.
And then some of the coaches came up with the agile maturity model. So there were those cool spider charts going, and they would have those comparison charts coming in. Oh, this is how beautifully you are agile.
Right.
Agile. Now, you cannot even compare two teams in the same business unit, how beautifully they're less agile or more agile, because you cannot compare religion. Oh, am I following more religion than you? Nobody can say it. It's my own way of working, right?
Yeah.
So it is not about getting your agile maturity models right and spider charts and burn down charts right, right? It's about whether it is working for you, whether it is giving you benefits that you are looking for. That's all matters.
Got it.
At the end
of there's a couple of places I want to take this. One is imagine I'm a new executive. I'm looking at hiring you to work in our organization, and I'm of the attitude that we need to be agile. Dang it, we need to be agile. We need to measure agile. Convince me that's not right. That I have the wrong kind of mind frame on this. What would you do to help me shift my mind, change my mind on that?
So I think my first question, and probably a single word I would ask, is why, right? What is that burning need that you have got that you really thought about, oh, let's do agile, right? If that is the first question that I would like to get answered. And second would be, let's say you probably pay me $1 million to make your team agile or your business unit agile. Then what is that you expect at the end of that 6-month cycle or 1-year engagement that you might have? How would you rate me, right? How would you treat me that I succeeded in my role as a coach?
Yeah.
So I know I'm putting my assignment, my money online, right? But it is very important for me as a coach that as somebody who's helping the organization to understand whether this guy would really realize the work that I'm giving to them.
I see.
So sometimes as an executive leader, you have to challenge, if you're spending $1 million on me, what's the benefit you're looking for? And trust me, because I've done this in multiple organizations of what 100 transitions I've been part of. This is something that gets them thinking. If I'm really spending those dollars or cents or rupees on somebody, am I really getting the return on investment? If you make them think in that way, then they really come back from that beautiful heaven which has been created in our marketing world. That, oh, agile is beautiful and is the next big thing. Right? Yeah. Then they think reality. Oh, I'm going to spend this much on this guy. Am I going to get benefits out of that? And then you get stuck.
Yeah, I see. So to play that back, what I'm hearing is we start with why. You want to ask them exactly what's important here. And hopefully I don't say something like, well, agile is the important thing. So probably having to peel back past that to really understand what what truly are my needs, the needs of the organization and teams. And then it sounds like you put together a program, and then there is, again, reflection to look at how you are doing and to evaluate, given those high level goals and your different approaches, are we getting closer or further away? So using a lot of the, it sounds like, the Agile philosophy in your engagements with organizations.
Yes. So I think I'm with you on that, because when we are trying to transition our organization to using agile practices and philosophy, it is very important that we also have an agile approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a lot of organizations that I work with, large organizations, I use Scrum for coaching them, right? Where we have our weekly sprints for coaching, where we have a backlog of burning issues that we need to solve this particular week, and then we have retrospectives both with the teams as well as the leadership every couple of weeks on how did we get closer to our goal.
Yeah.
So as a scrum master, as a coach, it's important to actually host retrospectives for your transition also, not just for your delivery of products, but also for your transition. Are we really going where we wanted to go, or are we just burning our time and money?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of 6 months, you have spent millions of dollars, your number of hours you spent, and you're still at the same place where you started. Trust me, nobody's going to feel good about it. Neither the executives, neither the team, and neither the person that you hired to help you in the transition.
Yeah, it sounds like we should nip that in the bud a lot sooner than 6 months through it, right? So having those weekly or every other week, fortnightly check-ins allows us to faster adapt and move around to make sure that we're getting what we need out of the organization.
Right. Yes. And it might so happen that after a couple of you realize that simply, for example, we started using a beautiful Kanban and one of the tools, it simply is not working. So it's time to check it out right now rather than this getting deeply into the organization, then saying, oh, this does not work anymore, let's change to something else.
I would think that would also be an indicator of how well people are embracing the philosophy. So if we're using this one tool that we agreed maybe too early on was going to work for us and it's not working, and we say, let's switch to this other tool. If the organization says, okay, let's do that, then maybe, you know, as a coach, you're doing a little bit better in your engagement. If they say, no, wait a second, we already made that decision, we can't undo that, then you probably know you have more work in front of you as well.
Absolutely. So, and that's why a technique that I use, at least with a few organizations, what I call the open space, because a lot of organizations follow what I call the forced agility, where agility is not something that the team picked up. It is always driven down from the top, because the CIO went to this cool conference and he heard agile, but tomorrow morning let's implement agile. So that is something that I've seen happening at a lot of organizations.
Yeah.
Right? Now to counter that, what I give them is what I call as the open space agility. So before you start your engagement, get them to a big room, everybody on the floor, right? With maybe 3,000 people on the floor, where you give them a problem statement, discussing with the CIO, with the leadership team, and then let everybody get involved into solving that problem. And that's where your first set of practices come out, right? Maybe there will be 300 suggestions which come out, and then you prioritize, okay, for next 3 months, we're going to try these 10 practices. And then you have an open space after another 3 months or another 12 weeks. And then you see whether it really worked, right? So this open space based approach has actually done wonders with quite a few of my customers that I've worked with, where they were able to move very quickly into this transition mode. And they're actually, even after 3 to 4 months itself, they were able to get the results they were looking to achieve maybe in 6 months or later.
All right. So open space agility, this is something I think was crafted by Daniel Nesnick, and you're using this idea of open space. This is excellent. Yes. So side note, I got to figure out how to work with you. I have been trying to do a little bit of this here and there, and I just need to collaborate and pair with somebody on some of this. And tell me more. What exactly does that look like? So you start with an open space, then you come back about a quarter later and do a large retrospective and another open space around that. What else is involved with all of this open space agility? And we'll put a link, I think, in the description when we're done here, so people can find out more too.
So see, the foundation of open space agility is actually based on what Daniel calls invitational leadership, right? where the leadership is not necessarily dictating, but they're inviting everybody to participate for a better future, right? This is where when before even we start our first open space, we spend about 6 to 8 weeks with the leadership, with the people who are really going to be the leaders, right? To define what a vision for them looks like. And these guys then send out an invitation. Now, we are not talking about a meeting invite.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about an invitation. Guys, we are doing this big event 2 weeks from now, and I invite you to be part of this journey. We don't tell them you ought to be there. You have to be there. There's no language like that in that invite that is going out from the leadership. Now, this itself is a big change for leadership because they are so used to, I am the CIO, I'm sending an invite, everybody should be there. Here, participation is optional.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? And I'll tell you a very interesting part which happened to me when I was working with an organization, and we were based in a southern city of India called Trivandrum. And so we had about 150 people center where we were implementing this first open space. And there the leadership said, oh, we have never seen these guys participating in meetings or trainings. The trainers would come and speak. These guys would simply listen and go home. Nobody speaks here.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's try this open space thing. And you just sent an invite. I don't expect everyone to be there, but let's send an invite. So out of those 150 people, about 110 people turned up. Not everybody came to that meeting, right? And they were thinking, we don't expect more than 5 to 7 sessions happening from the open space. And it turned out we had 64 sessions that day.
Wow.
And these guys were surprised. So one of the primary tenets of the open space is be prepared to be surprised.
Yeah, that's surprising to me.
And they said, we have never seen these guys talking so much. In 15 years, we've been into this organization, this office. Right? So this kind of brings down those hidden thoughts, ideas, suggestions that your junior most team members even might have.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you a big checklist or a backlog for your leadership to work upon, because these are the top priorities that you work upon. So one part is the invitational leadership. You don't force or dictate. Second part is then you take this list of ideas and then you prioritize, and then you're transparent to everyone, guys. We cannot implement all 300. We can implement only 10. And then the second open space, which is about 10 weeks later, is kind of a reinforcement, guys. This is what we have achieved. And maybe these practices do not work. So this is retrospective and planning for maybe, let's say, next 12 weeks or next 14 weeks. Now, that also gives me an idea as a coach by when this organization will be self-organized and self-sufficient. So as a coach, I cannot be with an organization for lifetime.
Yes.
Right? Because one of the tenets of it is being self-organized. So unless they become themselves a learning organization, they will never be able to build up.
Yep.
So Open Space also builds on this beautiful book by Peter Klein, 10 Steps to Learning Organization, right? Where you need to bring the learning spirit within the organization. They're continuously learning, evolving. And Open Space really feeds exactly into that. Now, you may choose Scrum practices, you may choose less practices, you may choose any one of them, but everybody's open. Yes, this is what we have chosen. So that mindset part that we were talking at the start of this session, that is very, very fast. Yeah. And there are evidences that we have gathered at this in India. So we were working with 2 organizations that I can talk about. And we were able to transition 1,000 people organization within 3 months to a much more rapid way of working.
Wow.
And we're talking about $1 billion company, which was kind of a unicorn. Yeah. And I still have got recommendations from them. They want to try this at many more of their organizations and associates. So this is something that you can achieve, very rapid transition if you start using some of those practices that I just mentioned.
Yeah, that's really fascinating, Madhur. The invitational leadership, for example, and all of this, I'm sure it was really kind of racking people's nerves about, will anybody show up at all? And we just put an invitation out there, and so many people showing up, I bet is wonderful feedback to you that this works, that we have our own, I guess, presuppositions of the way something is going to go, and you change a little bit of a direction or an attitude or an activity, just a little change in behavior and language, and look what you unleashed.
Absolutely. So the energy which is there in that open space and afterwards is amazing, because now it's not leadership which is driving agility. It's the team which are asking, guys, we need more. Yeah. We are not saturated with this. We need more faster speed. We need more things to do. Mm-hmm. Right. So then the game changes totally. Now it's not the managers, leadership pushing, guys, we need to be agile. We need to be agile. It's your team which is demanding from you Can we be more agile? Can we try something new? So you're inherently imbibing the philosophy in one day within the organization. That's the biggest benefit or the most beautiful thing that I observed or I felt. And that's why I have so much belief in it.
And then it sounds like there's also this, there's just so many layers in here, Madhur. Then you have this spirit of self-organization at the team level. There's demand pull. So they start to pull on and say, we need these things to do better and better. And I guess then leadership executives are supplying those things. And do you see then in these organizations that are using open space agility, I always think that I'm winning if the executives have a daily stand-up and maybe invites the board in. Do you see that sort of thing happening where they start to use their organizational design for their own work and start to collaborate better across the executive team?
Absolutely. So this function that I was talking about, they didn't just use this for an agile transition. They made this as part of their life. So every single decision that they were taking, whether it was new hiring that we need to have, whether it was about HR issues or operational issues, they would use open space, right?
Yeah.
So whenever the new policy rollout had to happen, the HR would actually call an open space where everybody in the organization was invited to participate. So they made it a part of their daily lifestyle.
Wow.
Right? The board, the executive committee, executive board members were using this as part of their daily stand-ups and having sprints and so on. So we actually execute that level also.
That's
so once they get hooked on, it's everywhere. So that's a bit our true agility.
Wow, and I also think executives are used to more deciding and delegating rather than doing, and yet this liberation of open space of the right people show up, right things talked about, right time, all of that has maybe the executive team not only deciding and delegating, but doing. So you have this not only top-down sponsorship of the Agile philosophy, they're starting to work on things to change the organization, while the teams also have that same spirit of openness, self-organization, that open space to figure their way forward. And so one of the things that I say is that in an organization, we all need to play by the same rules of the game. If we're trying to, at the executive level, play by one set of rules and at the team level play by a different set, you can't win that. That would be like trying to play cricket with the rules of baseball. I mean, they're close, but they're dissimilar enough. You're not going to win either one of those games.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in fact, I still remember this instance from 2006, I believe. And we were in Bombay. We were with a group of executives who had flown from all over the globe to be in a single training session, right? And we had to do this 2 days of training on Scrum and basics of agility and all those things. And then I said, "Are you guys really ready to try this?" They said, "Yes, we are ready." I said, "Okay, now I want to give you a challenge." And I don't know whether you remember when we were in childhood, we used to play this little train game, right? Where we would form trains and all our neighborhoods would join and friends would join in. We would just run this train through party and all those kind of things. Right? I said, "Okay, let's form a train. Okay, I want you to get out of this room in a train of we had about 19 executives in that room. I wanted to form a train and run through the floor. We had 250 people sit on the floor. I said, if you really want to bring a change, form a train and run through this floor."
Yeah.
And once they were shocked, "Can we really do this?" I said, "These are your people. These are not my people. These guys know you. If you can't do this small change, but how do you bring bigger changes?" And these guys actually, one guy took the lead and they formed this change. They went out, and within 5 minutes, the whole floor was on the train. They were just running around that floor.
Right? I imagine this conga line like bump, 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 bump.
Exactly.
Just going around.
Exactly.
That's great.
And we were like, I mean, what's really happening here? So that's how you build the energy. Because if they see these guys are huddled in the room and trying to do something different, and while we are toiling down in the floor, they will never match up with the energy. Then you don't get the spirit and the mind together.
Yeah. And then there's also in that, this again, use the word fascinating to me, because you actually have executives being a little bit goofy and playful and having fun. And I think that is a major part of the Agile mindset as well. And is it the lightweight structure of open space itself that allows people to show a little bit more of their human side and not be, so much from, hey, I'm here from corporate? Like, What do you see that really has people show up as themselves during this?
See, exactly. See, there's an initial hesitation, obviously, which is there, right? Because uh, with am I really allowed to speak up? Am I really allowed to talk? Will my ideas be accepted?
Yeah.
And this is where we are doing this mindset change for the leadership first, guys. When you go first in front of your people, this is the confidence and trust you have to give to your people, guys. It is okay to discuss anything. It is okay to criticize, right? Give a safe space for them to talk. And once you give them a safe space and they see that you're participating, you're listening to the discussions, that's where they really open up. Right? So having that element of humor and fun obviously helps. And I took this cue not from open space. I'll probably talk about one more philosophy that I've always loved. And this actually came from some fishmongers in Chicago.
Okay.
I don't know whether you've read about this fish philosophy.
Don't think so. This is something else we'll put in the comments, and I'll go look up later. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so fish philosophy is something which actually came from the farmers market in Chicago, right? So there's a group of fishmongers who changed their fortunes in the late 80s by following 3 or 4 key tenets of their work, okay? Where they actually talk about have fun, they talk about being there for each other, and a couple of more tenets. So that's where they first showed agility, where it was, even the boss was there, but they were bringing everything with the humor. They're engaging their customers, right? And now they export their fish to 158 countries worldwide. They changed from a space which was about to close down to about $20 million of exports every year. And this is a group of 12 fishmongers. So fish philosophy is actually based on that.
I see.
There's a cool videos about this that are available if you can search on YouTube and other places.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's it really. Yeah.
Yeah, but please continue.
Yeah, so that's it really kicked my mind. And even before I heard about the term Agile in 2003, my first Agile project, that's what piqued my interest. What are these guys doing differently? And they have applied this to in hospitals, they have applied this in workplaces, BPOs, IT centers, very stressful jobs. So those bunch of fishmongers could do it, who did not really have formal IT education of sorts. Why can't uh, we educated people do it? So that's where I started my interest in Agile philosophy, and I still apply some of those principles along with open space and obviously the Agile philosophy.
Yep.
When we bring this transition.
Yep.
And the base element, as you rightly mentioned, Arun, was fun. If you keep things fun and easy, people easily adopt it. Even, oh, it is so serious, you have to do a daily stand-up for 15 minutes every day. Trust me, after first week, nobody's interested. Right? There are enough meetings in their week that they're not interested in daily stand-up.
Yep.
But if you keep it cool, do it in a cafeteria, guys, let's have some fun for 5 minutes. Let's come together. Yep. It's much more easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've always thought happy people build better products. And it sounds like your fishmonger example is proof of that. If we just somehow get out of our own way and not be so critical and just lighten up a little bit and have fun and be ourselves, who knows what happens? And what happened was a lot of profit and really growing from a near fail to a successful organization and entity. That's really great. And so you found that before really you started to look at your own personal Agile journey. You were finding these other, it sounds like adjunct, close by sort of things that then brought you into Agile?
Yes. So that's where I said I got hooked into agility in 2002, 2003 time frame, because I'd seen some great videos, I'd seen this working, and I applied that at my workplace also. Then Agile seemed something very close to what I believed in, what I worked in. In fact, my very first training, though it was not on Agile, I did it in 1999. So since then, I've been working with students and I've been working with corporates on some of these techniques. And then Agile simply fell into the place because this was something close to what I was already talking.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's what this is. It's just a little different. Exactly. So I'll just bring that in too. Yeah.
Exactly. It was just a jigsaw puzzle coming together. Okay, this fits in pretty well. That's why so much belief in these principles rather than just talking about practices and stuff and so on.
Oh, yeah, that's super great. Madhur, we're at, let's see, 50 past here. So was that 20 past 9 over there? Yeah. Is it time for tea or something for you now? What you about ready to end this?
Yes, I think it's time to about end because obviously I need to get my dinner and my family has been now waiting. Where are you now? So
I
I need
bet.
to get going with that.
All right. Well, bring it home, Madhur. How do you want to close this? What do you have to say for us to close this off?
Okay, so I think because we are in such times and so on, with the Christmas spirit also coming, right? I would still say that keep the spirit going. And I'll steal your words around that you said, right? It's the spirit which matters, and the rituals should come. So that's where probably I would like to end it. And because the Christmas spirit is coming, so I would say the same, that focus on the spirit and not the ritual, because that's what is important. So and that's how I wish everybody, right?
Yeah.
So as we start a new year and we get in the united spirit, so I would wish everybody to be safe and happy and healthy, and be who you are. That's what is important when we talk about agility.
Indeed. Thank you so much for the time. I hope you enjoy your meal with your family, and we'll talk later.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It
All
was
right.
nice being here, and thanks for hosting me. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.